Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Four Lads Rangers Monday Night Live. Yep, the Baldy crew are back once more, and yeah, Davie suggested we just play last week's show all over again, which might have been very much worthwhile. David, how are you, mate? You well?
I'm well, apart from having to watch Rangers twice a week at the moment. But things will improve. Don't worry, things will improve.
Are you sure?
No.
Well, Kenny, good evening, mate. How are you? You well?
Not bad, mate. Just thinking that Rangers are on cue for 38 points this season. Some going, eh?
Well, unbeaten season. Listen, we are going to get straight into it. Davey, your thoughts on yesterday, please.
Oh dear. St Mirren played exactly the way everyone knew they would play. Is the first thing I'd say. 3 big centre backs, 2 big forwards, a competitive midfield, fight for every ball. They done exactly what St Mirren have done for the last 2 or 3 years, and Rangers played as if it came as a surprise yet again. Played totally out of the hands, played too slowly, had very little shape about them, no energy, no tempo, created absolutely nothing. And I mean nothing until we get desperate in the last half hour, just like the Dundee game, and threw lots of forwards on, and something fell in the box for us. It's shapeless, it's tedious, it's everything that we hoped it wouldn't be. And I wish I could say there's signs of it improving, but unfortunately there isn't. And there's so many different areas we could talk about, whether it's the players themselves, whether it's the tactics, whether it's the manager, whether it's recruitment. But whatever it is, they have given us an absolute shambles of a season so far.
Yeah, Kenny, I would love to say that Davey's wrong and there's lots of things to be positive about, but he's absolutely not.
No, Davey's right. And there's not a lot to add to that apart from a lack of cohesion, lack of creativity, being capable of defending properly. 2 men sitting on your own halfway line, 1 ball kills us. We've seen it since the start of the season. And I just have a funny feeling now that Russell Martin has seriously underestimated when I say quality of the opposition, the level or the standard of the opposition. I just don't think he gets this. That playing the way we are going to ship goals in our league. And when you can't create, when it takes you to have literally 7 or 8 attacking players on the pitch to create a deflected goal, effectively, we can see where the issues are lying. But we'll get into it. I just thought it was. I think Davey's kind of alluded to that. It's just exactly as we kind of all predicted, that I genuinely couldn't see us going over to Paisley and getting a win at all. And the sad thing for me, I genuinely believe that if St Mirren had went for it at the start of that second half and got the second goal, they would have beat us.
Well, it's all if, much, buts and maybe. We certainly wouldn't have scored twice, that's for sure. So, Davey, the team selection didn't have a number 9 in it. I had to think about when the last time we done that, and it was probably Seville due to severe injuries. Aribo played through the middle was the only kind of answer I could come up with. I don't know if Russell Martin's playing games. I don't know if he's sending a message that our 9s aren't good enough. We will talk about one striker heavily in a couple of minutes, but what is the point in playing with wingers and attacking players and trying to play it down the side when you've got nobody to hit in the middle? And this is a constant issue. I sound like a broken record because I am. Doesn't matter who we play up front. There's no service. There's no chances getting created. And Igamane refusing to come on will come to, but Asgard was just an absolute passenger yesterday in a role that he looked uncomfortable in. And again, we didn't give him the ball to do anything.
Yeah, I think it's almost beyond belief that I'm watching a Rangers team go to somewhere like St Mirren and play without a striker. I just find that absolutely incredible. Okay, Dessers is injured. I think he genuinely is injured. I can only assume he thinks Danilo's the only forward he's got available for Wednesday night, and he decided he would rather not play him and keep him for that game. I can't think of another reason why you wouldn't play with a centre forward. Felt heart sorry for Asgard. I actually don't know how good he is, but I know after watching yesterday he's not a centre forward. That's that much I can definitely tell you. As you say, if you're going to play with wingers, you hit the byline, you get the ball across, and you get players into the box. That's what you do to score goals. And playing with a striker, just it would have been hard enough with one striker's there, because St Mirren played with the three centre backs, so they would have always had spare men there anyway. But it was just like giving them a free run at the back, just giving the ball back to them all the time. Russell Martin is the one that all the talks about. I get that, but we need to be asking ourselves why we're now a week away for the transfer window shutting and we still haven't brought in a number 9. If we don't rate any of the number 9s we've got, then why haven't we got another one by this time? I've used the word shambles already, and I'll use it again up front. Yesterday we were a shambles.
Yeah, Kenny, and even if we were playing with a 9 or a forward, we aren't creating anything, and that still remains my biggest worry. I think the only chance in the first half I remember was an Ant-Man run and a shot with his left foot early on, which the goalie caught, and then there was a ball across the face of goal by Mike Homa that Lyle Cameron put over. Aside of that, there's no pressure, there's no sustained domination like the way we were told. There's no penning them in, there's no playing in their half the way we were sold this by Russell Martin and by Kevin Thelwell, incidentally, which we'll come to soon. But these things, this dominating football is nowhere to be seen.
No, it isn't. The truth is that it appears to be easier to play against this as a system than it is to play it, because our players can't play it, and every team we played has just carved us open at times, and that's where I am with this. I just don't know what we're supposed to be doing. As I say, I don't think we defend properly. We don't defend as a back four or as a unit or as a team. We don't create. We don't see overloads. We don't see people getting down to the touchline or the byline very often. The number 9 is not involved at all. So, playing Asgard yesterday or playing Danilo didn't really make much difference, because Danilo wasn't getting much of the ball if he was playing either. So, I don't know what we're really supposed to say about all this. In truth, I genuinely don't, because people will hit you with stats. People will tell you things are going to perhaps improve or get worse, or who, I don't know. All I can go with is my eyes, and I don't see anything to be overly positive about. In fact, I feel downright negative about the way we've started this season. Sad as it may sound, and I know you can't do this, but if you take the Alloa game, which is a gimme, we've won 2 of our first 8, if you think about it that way. That's not a good start for a Rangers team. So I don't really know what he was trying to do yesterday. As I say, I just feel that, and Davie had said this earlier on, that we go to the Smicer, and every single person in Scotland that likes football knows exactly what St Mirren are going to do in their own ground, apart from us, apparently. We looked shell-shocked at times in that first half when they started to dominate us physically. That's a major concern for me, and it really does need addressed. And I kind of wonder what all the data analysts are doing to, when they're telling Russell Martin this is what teams are going to do. Is he just ignoring it or what? I don't know.
Davey, there's so much wrong that it's almost difficult to start, but the goal we concede is something that we've discussed for several weeks. That line's too high, they're wide open. 2 passes take us from the edge of our box to them going clean through one-on-one. Spoke about it against Bruges. 1 pass got us basically from defence to attack, and they were straight on us. We are wide open, and we're playing in areas that are completely ineffectual. And you pointed this out ages ago, starting with the midfielders who are so wide and they're getting caught out time and time again. That is prevalent every single match. Our defence is high. And see, for this quick attacking football, we don't move the ball enough and quick enough. It is so laboured at the back. Fernandes, Suter, Butland. It's all so slow yesterday, and it's just not. There's no momentum anywhere in that side. But the problems are pretty much staring you in the face, and yet every single game we do the same thing, which makes it very easy to play against Rangers.
I'm not a tactical genius in any way, shape, or form, but good teams defend from the front backwards, don't they? So Russell Martin told us we were going to be pressing high up the pitch, we were going to win the ball in good areas, put teams under pressure. I don't see our forward players doing that. So the next thing is the midfield then. Is the midfield going to cover the defence? Is the midfield going to be solid and compact? Well, no, as you've just mentioned, the midfield seems to spread really thinly across the park. They seem to spend two of them out there beside the winger half the time, really out the game completely. I'm not sure yet what to make of the fullbacks' positions in Russell Martin's setup. They don't seem to overlap. They don't seem to stay in a back four. They just seem to wander around and be out of position quite a lot. And that leaves you to two centre-halves. And as you say, they defend far too high. So it's a recipe for giving goals away. And lo and behold, 3 league games into the season, we've not kept a clean sheet yet. In fact, the other lot that's top of the league with 9 points, they've not conceded a goal yet. And I think that's actually every bit as important as anything else, the fact that they don't concede goals and we do. So tactically, I'm no expert on it, but I would be able to set up a team to play against Rangers, I think, and create chances. And the other thing I'll say about the Rangers' defence is that they are really, really susceptible to cross balls into the box still. Every cross ball into the box has me in an absolute panic. Pilsen, they could have scored about 5 or 6 with crosses. Dundee could have scored 3 or 4. St Mirren had a big team yesterday. Every time the ball came out of the box, I was in a panic. We've got a lot of work to do defensively as well as everywhere else in the park. And there's just no sign that we're even working on it. That's about what worries me the most.
Yeah, Kenny, again, more cheery content. From set pieces, we have absolutely abandoned the need to defend. And it shows you the last couple of minutes when we were one each and trying to chase the game, we concede free kicks. And from that point, it's almost like they just go, on you go, lads, have an attempt at goal. Because it's like musical statues, because nobody reacts, nobody organises, there's no voices in there, there's no leadership. The boy that, I think it might have been Gogic, bear in mind I was up the other end, that header at the end, which Butland has to tip over, there was 3 of them. Just all standing with nobody near them, ready to put that in. And it's not difficult to defend in terms of you're just dinking a ball in and getting a free header. What are we doing? Like, how is it? It's laughable in many ways, lads, and I'm sorry to do it, but it's laughable because it's so basic. And it's almost like we're going, on you go. And it's not once in a blue moon. It's more or less every set piece, like Davie says. It's alarming.
Every single set piece that is put into a danger area, they've got a chance of scoring, because you look at the Bruges game last week for their second goal, and there's actually 3 of them standing unmarked. The boy that scores is unmarked, but there's actually 2. There's one standing about the 6-yard box. There's one to the left of him as well. The big boy Gogic, we know exactly what they're going to do. St Mirren, they're just going to put it there. Their big lads are going to go and attack it. And somebody mentioned last week, I can't remember who it was, but the big boy Gogic just bullies Rangers players. It's ridiculous. And there he is, just charging through. I'm not sure it was actually going in, but Butland's got to make sure and tip it over. But it's a free header. Our set pieces are absolutely atrocious, actually. To the point, as you say, laughable, because I don't know, we're meant to be zonal marking and apparently man marking at other parts, and other parts of the penalty area. I don't see any man marking at all. I'm not trying to be funny. I genuinely don't see any man marking at all, because all it takes is a peel off somebody's shoulder or a run to the, across them onto the front stick, and they've got free headers constantly, and it's everybody. So yeah, as I said last week, Southampton podcasters were telling us that he didn't know how to set up at set pieces, and it does appear that way. But we're unbeaten, so let's cheer up.
Yeah, that's an attempt at. I don't even know what it's an attempt at, Kenny, but I don't. It's so difficult to sit here because it is negative at the moment. But see if we came on here and said things are going to get better, we can see it, and players are playing well, and you know we have to kind of look at the positives. Then we would be cheating everybody, Davie, because like you, I'm not a tactics guy, so I can only see what's in front of me, and what's in front of me is a mess. It's not coordinated, it's not organised, and I am really, really struggling to have any kind of positivity towards this. And I was one of the ones that didn't want him and said, he's here, so we have to embrace it and see what happens. But it's tough. It's tough not to go right back to what... And bear in mind, I think this is the quickest and most universal I've ever seen anyone against anything that Rangers have done. That away end yesterday was toxic, and it was difficult to be in. Russell Martin turned to the away end very quickly to applaud them, and the reaction was ferocious. They were waiting on him, and he quickly backtracked and left. People that were at the game will back that story up. It's how do you put into words, Davie? Like, I could ask you, where do we go next from Bruges? And every single one of us watching and every single one of us sitting here will probably say that game can be over after 20 minutes again because of the way we're set up and the things that we're trying to do. Somebody asked why we're so unfit. I don't think we're unfit. I think the players look demoralised trying to play this. Like Rothwell, Aarons and stuff. It's like the life has been sucked out of them. And yeah, they're not performing, and we'll come to that in a minute, and I understand that completely. But see, when you're positive, Davie, and you're going for it, you look fit, your tail's up, it's like a different body language. Look at the players yesterday in the tunnel waiting to come out. It's not screaming to me like they're enjoying this in the slightest.
I don't think there's anybody in the world enjoying it apart from Celtic supporters at the moment. I'm going to go back to the summer for a minute because I was feeling quite positive in the summer. When they appointed Russell Martin, I was one of the ones that didn't want him. I think all three of us sitting here were all saying very similar things, actually. We thought he was too one-dimensional. We thought he didn't learn. We thought his style of play wouldn't work. We had all these concerns. But then we listened to him, and we listened to those that had appointed him. And they were telling us that he's now more flexible. He's learned from his mistakes. Well, that's good. They also said, we understand the importance of winning at this club. There won't be a honeymoon period. We need to hit the ground running. There'll be no excuses. That all sounded good as well. We know the team needs completely revamped. That sounded good. And then he added a bit about we're going to play high intensity, dominant football. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to press all over the pitch. We're going to play entertaining football. Oh, that sounded great. And then we've watched it. And actually, it's exactly what we said it was going to be. And that's what's so depressing about it, because I'm still listening to the head coach after games and in press conferences, and he's still talking about, yeah, the players are having to learn to play my way, and it will come, and they need to learn to do the right things all the time. They need to be brave, all this stuff. And it's almost as if his 7 interviews that he persuaded the club that he had changed, he's now went back and just totally ignored what he told them in those 7 interviews. Because it's exactly what Southampton fans warned us it was going to be like. I think there's far more problems than Russell Martin. Don't get me wrong. I think there's other things as well. But the manager of the team is such an important job, and it sets the tone. It sets everything. And it just looks as if he's brought in lots of players, none of whom are leaders. I very much doubt any of them have got the mentality to play at a club that demands to win every week. He doesn't sound like a man that's got a mentality to win every week. What was it he said before the game yesterday? Is this a must-win game? He said, no, it's not a must-win game. Then after the game finished, he says to the interviewer, okay, we dropped points. It's not the end of the world. This is a Rangers manager that's talking. A Rangers head coach is talking. What kind of shadow is that casting in our dressing room? If I think back a few years to the the voices that would have been in that dressing room, the Alan McGregors, the Scott Arfields, the Steve Davises, all these guys, Ryan Jack, etc. I don't know we've not replaced any of that type of voice, I don't think. The things if we've got lots of players that want to learn, but there's no really anybody to learn off of. So, I'm feeling pretty negative. I hate calling for managers' heads and things like that because it means Rangers are losing football games. And I want them to win every game they play, so I want them to be a success. But I just don't see it turning because I just don't see him turning.
Yeah, Kenny, I was going to say this till later, but we may as well hit it now. Davie says he doesn't see this turning. Once the fans go the way the fans have went, and I think it's quite clear how the fans have went, I think it's extremely difficult to turn this. Is there any... How does he fix this? Even if, say we shocked everybody and managed to have a really good week ahead and beat Bruges and beat Celtic somehow, I don't even think that saves him because I'm not... It would take a hell of a couple of performances. And even if we do win these games, I don't see it being games where, we bossed and controlled and are issue free. So we're going to get to an international break where the volume of noise is going to be massive. And it's almost ridiculous to be here in this position, but Davie says he doesn't know how he changes it or how he turns this around. I think it's near on impossible already.
The only way you can do that is to win football games. We said it last week. We're repeating ourselves already. That is all he has to do is with the squad of players he's got. Now, here is my kind of problem with all this. Is this the greatest squad I've ever seen at Rangers? No, nowhere near it. Is it a decent enough squad of players? I think it probably is. I think a lot of the new signings are kind of shell-shocked at the pressure they've been put under. Davie's alluded to that with a lack of leaders in the dressing room, lack of people to learn from. And we've been sadly lacking this for a long, long time. People that know exactly what Rangers are all about and what is required. And I'm sorry, there's just very few in that dressing room that get that. They just don't understand. So I agree with you. All that's going to happen if it was to beat Bruges and Celtic, that would be a stay of execution. It could go... We're already hit this point where you could go 8, 9, 10 games win the lot, and the first time he drops points, everybody's going to go back to where we are just now. And that is the major concern. He has to figure a way of digging us out of this while playing the football that we were promised by Patrick Stewart, Kevin Thelwell, and him. We were told this was a brave new dawn, a brand new era where we're going to see this attacking, dominant football. We're getting ragdolled about by Motherwell, Dundee, and St Mirren. We don't work harder than any team we've played. We don't. We haven't worked harder than any single team we've played. So I don't know how he goes about fixing this. Is there issues in that dressing room? We're going to come to that. Yeah, clearly there is. And I have my sympathies for him with that, because how difficult that is making the job of getting a buy-in to what he's trying to do, we don't know. We genuinely don't know the absolute, melt that's going on behind the scenes. We've heard about Hamza, which we'll talk about, but it's clear with the players' body language that that is one unhappy dressing room at this minute in time. Now, if that, for me, means that you have to allow Russell Martin a period of time to address that, then somebody above him has to come out and actually kind of, perhaps maybe after the window shuts, maybe kind of address this and explain what's been going on behind the scenes. Because for me, it is clear as day that it's not a happy camp. So if it's not a happy camp in the place and you're not getting results, how do you expect all of us to feel? How do they expect the Rangers fans to feel, apart from utterly deflated and completely hacked off with the way we're playing and the lack of results we're getting. That's the kind of crux of it for me. You have to win games of football at Rangers. Otherwise, you instantly go under pressure, and he's already under that pressure, a huge pressure. And as you say, I don't remember it being kind of as universal as this. And I've never seen it this quickly, ever. Never in my life have I seen it at Rangers this quickly get him out.
Folks, I have gifted 10 Four Lads of the Dream memberships just to give people an insight. If you manage to grab one, well done. They are an insight into what members get on the channel. We're currently doing a lot of things. First and favourite season, which if you're a member, you can come on and be a part of. We are inviting people to come and join us. A few people have done it already. There is other series. We do a series every few weeks with an ex-player, which we've done a few now, Stephen Naismith, which was well received by everyone. But interesting comments and feedback from that one. Mark Haitley, which everyone absolutely loved, and Gordon Smith, which Davie and I done. Davie mainly. Was a sensational interview. Thoroughly enjoyed that. If you want to become a member and support the channel, you can do for as little as 99p a month. We love all the support, and the 500 odd members we have already. It's fantastic. We do as many shows as we can, as well as all your free ones during the week. I think yesterday there was 3 podcasts went out: Matchday Vlog from the men's, Matchday Vlog from the women, and then your Sunday show at night. So we're definitely trying, folks, to do our very best for you on the channel and bring some good stuff. It would be lovely if we could bring some positive stuff, but that's up to the team and up to the players to sort that out. Thank you so much to Alan, who's given us a donation tonight. We really appreciate that. Beat Celtic, we're 3 behind. Must-win game for Martin. Not sure it'll be enough to save him, though. Yeah, I mean, even if we weren't behind Celtic, that sort of game is always a must-win. But Davie, we are going to move on because there's something that has to be discussed from yesterday, and it's Hamza Igamane. I have a very, I don't know how to describe it, a very firm opinion on this, but I will save that until I hear yours. We are told that Hamza Igamane refused to come on 60 minutes, said he had a quad issue. He warmed up at half-time. He warmed up until 60 odd minutes when he was called back. He was right in front of me. At no time was he asking for treatment. Was there apparently any issues with him? Russell Martin said afterwards he refused to come on, and it's plainly clear what he was getting at when he said that there was any. He then went on and said there was a bid during the week which we've refused, and more or less intimated that he chucked it because he's unhappy. How do you reflect on everything from yesterday to do with Hamza Igamane?
Well, first and foremost, there is absolutely no defending the player. Absolutely, it's impossible to defend that. If that's what he's done, and I've got no reason to think that's not what he's done, then he obviously can never play for our club again. It's as simple as that. It's an absolute disgrace that he done it. It's a slap in the face to the support. It's a slap in the face to his teammates. And if you think that he was in a backwater in Morocco doing nothing before Rangers gave him the chance to come here, gave him a shop window in the European football, scored a win in an Old Firm game, etc. Pay him quite a bit every week. It's an absolute disgrace that he's treated the club like this. The one thing I will say, slightly on the other side of things, I don't think the head coach should have talked about it in an interview straight after the game live on the television. Yes, we absolutely now have to sell Igamane, but I think by doing what Martin did, his value has just fell by half. I think we won't get anywhere near the money that we could have got if we had just publicly said he's got a little strain, he's feeling a strain, he couldn't come on. Hopefully he'll be all right for midweek. But in the background, we contact other clubs and we say he's now for sale. But by doing what we've just done, I think we'll be very lucky to get half the amount of money that we probably were hoping for. But he can never play for us again. It's as simple as that.
Kenny, strong words from Davie. I can't say I disagree, to be honest. Hamza Igamane, what do you make of it?
the entire thing, both the situations that Davie's talked about there, Hamza himself and Russell Martin, just smacks of a lack of professionalism to me from both of them. Why Russell Martin said it, I don't really know. I don't mind him calling it out and just saying that there was a little bit of an issue or something like that. But you don't turn around and add to it, which he did. I don't like that. As for Igamane, nah, you can't do that. That's just not on. And I'll tell you what, if it was, when I played football, it was just amateur stuff. But if it, I'd be raging with a teammate doing that. So I would hope that his teammates are utterly pissed off with him and just turn around and shun him, because come on and help your mates, for goodness sake, more than anything else. These guys are guys that you worked with for a year. You go and you help them, and he's not bothered his shut. So I don't like that. It shows a lack of respect to the fans, to the club, but a real naivety from Russell Martin that this is part of my issue that I've got a real concern about with Russell Martin. That I didn't like some of the comments after the Bruges game. There's been a couple of things that he said on the last 3 weeks that I've just that set alarm bells ringing in my head, red flags, whatever you want to call it. But that, whether he is or he isn't, that very much looks like you're just throwing the guy under the bus because you didn't win. Would he have said it if we had actually sneaked a 2-1 win? I don't think he would have, actually. And that's kind of my concern about Russell Martin's way of handling it. I think it's genuinely just downright naive. That's the only way I can describe it. So not a good look for player, for manager or club. It's quite embarrassing all round, isn't it? It's just 0 days from our last nonsense, Stevie, yet again.
Bluebells were a very kind donation. Thank you, sir, as usual. What if Hamza really did pull up in the warm-up? Martin has went public with an insinuation that has destroyed Hamza in the fans' eyes. Probably knocked a few million off his price tag as well. It's poor management yet again. Okay. First of all, Russell Martin should never have spoke about this publicly, in my opinion. He should have kept it in-house. He could have deflected and said anything, really. He was unwell. He had a soreness, which we'll check during the week. We don't know. There's absolutely no need to make that public, in my opinion. And this is all this is. It's my opinion. I just don't think it was necessary. It's created a circus that we don't need. Again, I think there's better ways to deal with it. I think Steven Gerrard or Walter Smith or Alex McLeish say similar. And it goes from being a nothing incident to staying a nothing incident. What we've got now is very much so a player that Lille know now that is unhappy, that is a problem, that is pushing for a move, and that they will then look at Rangers' valuation of 15 million and go, no, we're not going to meet that. And that's the biggest problem we have now. To move on to the player himself, I think genuinely he's a disgrace. He came back unfit, not ready to retrain. He had the issues with his visa, which is down to him as well, by the way, making sure that he had the right stuff and making sure he was ready and willing to be back in time to impress a new manager. He's done absolutely none of that. His attitude stinks. He's quite happy to walk away from Rangers the first opportunity that he gets. And that's football. That's life. I get it. 100%, I get it. But being a huffy, petulant little brat, it's not for me, I'm afraid. So yes, Russell Martin probably could have dealt with it differently. But at the same time, maybe it's good that the fans do know exactly what went on there. Whether we like it or not, he has very much put us in a situation now where Hamza Igamane should have played his last game for the football club. And we're going to find out now what happens. It wouldn't surprise me. All the talk now is once again that Lille are ready to come in. I think they'll record reporting tonight that they're going to come in with a £9 million bid, 3 million of add-ons, sell-ons and things to go with that. And they're not going to hit 15 million. Rangers are probably in a position where for a £12 million deal for Hamza Igamane, they have to take that. I've got to be honest. There's a big part of me that does say, right, okay, get out. you can go, but this should have been handled better. It should have been handled differently. Davie, do we have a problem in that dressing room? And we'll never know, I suppose, the answer to this. But he then speaks about Cyril Dessers. And it's quite clear again what he's intimating there. He says Cyril Dessers has a wish, but he's trained perfectly. He's trained really well. He's trained really hard. His attitude's spot on. The obvious thing is then have we received have we received the request from him to leave? The press asked him that. I think Andy Newport asked him that. He says no, that's not the case. But again, why are we discussing that? Does that mean that Rangers have told him they want to sell him on? Does it mean he wants to leave? It just doesn't look great. And then you've got Bayrami on Instagram, you've got Cortez on Instagram. These guys aren't playing, so I get it. But it all just adds up to a situation that doesn't really need to be played out in public.
Couldn't give you more. Certainly when I watched the interview yesterday, when he spoke about Dessers, my immediate thought was, well, that's him away. Because it seemed pretty obvious that the manager was telling us that Dessers is asked to leave, but he's got a better attitude than Igamane, so I might play him again and I might not, but he's still going to leave before the transfer window closes. Which I think is what we expected. I mean, if I go back in this pod a month, when the saga with AEK Athens had started, what did we say back then? We said back then, what's the odds this goes all the way to the end of the transfer window? And it wouldn't surprise me if that's actually what's actually now playing out. But that's just about Dessers. I think that it's the deeper problem, I think, that you're alluding to, which is that there's too much going on in public, not enough been going on behind closed doors. And it just sounds as if it's a dressing room which doesn't respect the manager. That's kind of what it sounds like. You talked about McLeish, you talked about Gerrard. I mean, there's no point talking about Walter Smith because he sits above everybody else, but good managers control their dressing room. And it does sound as if already we have got fractures appearing. And that's likely to get worse if the results continue the way they are. I think you'll see more of them trying to bail out before the transfer window closes. Wouldn't surprise me.
Kenny, we're heavily linked with Miovski, former Aberdeen player. Listen, I'll say it again, and this may sound boring, and people might. We could have a front line of Ant-Man, Miovski, and Gassama, which on paper is pretty exciting. There's lots of pace there, lots of goals there, but we're playing like a team that doesn't create anything. And I'm struggling to get excited by the fact that Miovski might be coming. But by the way, I like him. I think he's a decent striker. I think he can finish. I think he's got pace. But if we continue to play like this, you could have Haaland and Messi up front and it would make absolutely no difference because we're not creating. And albeit that's an exaggeration, yes, I get it. But we're not creating chances is the point. What's Bojan Miovski going to do in this situation where we're not creating chances for a 9?
Do exactly what Danilo and Dessers have been doing then. I don't know. You just look at this whole thing, and Russell Martin has mentioned this a couple of times now about things will be different when the winter transfer window shuts. And yes, it will. I think I'm going to give Russell Martin a little bit of rope there in that sense, where I think, see this at this point in the season, where you're a week or two before the transfer window shuts, and you've clearly got guys wanting away, and you're clearly wanting to bring, replacements in. This must be really difficult, as difficult a point in your season as you can get. So when you've got people, creating a circus, as you say, a circus, that's not good. But then your manager creates a story out of nothing in Cyril Dessers. Now, it could be that Cyril Dessers has been told by Russell Martin that we're going to bring a striker or two in, you're going to go down the pecking order. He might not fancy that. So he doesn't necessarily want to go. He just doesn't want to not get game time. So he'd leave because he needs game time. I get that, because that's where he's not asked to go kind of thing might come from. I don't know, but for me, it's Miovski's a good player. I liked Miovski when he was at Aberdeen. He's not done much in the year or so since he's been away. I know that he started a few games at first, and he's got very little game time at Girona, I've noticed. So how fit he's going to be and up to speed he's going to be, I don't quite know either. But he's a guy that scored, what was it, the best part of 60 goals in 2 seasons in this league, I think it was, and that's a decent return in any league, but in our league in particular these days for a striker, it's quite high. When it comes to our attack, full stop, I've just not seen much of it yet that gives me any great, excitement at all, because we've watched this movie over and over again for a number of years, that teams sit really deep, they double up on your wingers, it should create space for others, but for whatever reason, we don't use that space very well. I've mentioned this on here before, that, if you remember back to Steven Gerrard's first season, he started with 2 really wide wingers, and by the time the second season it started to come right in, and by the time his third season, it was basically 2 number 10s right on top of the number 9 at times, is the way he played domestically to get through this low block. It was wee tricky 1-2s that they were playing and stuff. And highly noticeable that Russell Martin in the second half yesterday narrowed it right in there, didn't he? He brought the wingers in a little bit. Gassama went over to the right, Antman came in, Asgard came in, and they were playing almost like 2 10s. And I don't know if this is me kind of ranting on a wee bit, but I've noticed that any time Russell Martin has had to ditch what he wants to do, Rangers look better. Do you know what I mean, guys? That any time he's taken away from the rigid formation that he wants to play, the minute he's had to kind of ditch that because he's not winning a game, all of a sudden there's a freedom about a play that hasn't been there in the 60, 70 or 45 minutes, whatever it's been before. So that's my hope. I heard Cheryl last night say that she believes that the board will give him 2 transfer windows. She might not be far wrong with that, actually. They might well give him a lot more time than we think because of the situation that's going on behind the scenes in the dressing room and stuff like that. That Stevie, you, I, and Davie were talking about this in the car home last Tuesday, and I kind of mentioned this to you. He might well be that guy that needs to be there to kind of kill that toxicity in that dressing room. I don't know. But in terms of the strikers, yeah, if they both go, we need 2. That's the thing. We need 2 in. So Miovski and another, and we need a left back, and we need a centre half. So there's got lots of work to do.
I was just about to ask you, Davie, for all that Bojan Miovski might be good, and I don't know anything about that deal, whether it's possible or not. We're going to find out in the coming days. Russell Martin did say yesterday nothing was imminent, which is interesting. Rangers need so much, don't they? They need a left-sided centre-back. They need a left-back. We need something else in the midfield, which continues to be an absolute omnishambles in there of I don't even know what they're trying to do half the time. And we need a striker. We probably need somebody else for the right wing. It seems like we've brought in 9-10 players and we still need so much more, which is extraordinary in itself. You talked about the 9, a centre-back and a 9 of experience would be really welcomed in this team. The lack of voices in there is incredible for me. We've still got so much to do in this closing week.
Yeah, and I think, as I said to you earlier on, we could just have played last Monday's pod, and I think this is going to be the bit I'm going to say the same as I did last week. I think the back 4 absolutely needs an experienced left back, without doubt, and it absolutely needs even more an organiser in the middle, somebody that's going to be the defensive linchpin organiser. I'm not going to say captain because the team should have 4 or 5 captains. Unfortunately, we don't have any. But they need those 2 things. They need a centre-back that's an organiser and they need an experienced left-back. I quite like that, this young boy that's come in at left-back, actually. I thought it was very unfortunate taking off at half-time yesterday. He was one of the few that I thought done okay in the first half. As far as midfield's concerned, the player that I'm still wondering whether he'll be here at the end of the transfer window's asking. Although I don't know if there's any, I don't think there's any bids for him that I'm aware of, but it wouldn't surprise me if between now and the end of the month that somebody tries to put a bid in for him if he doesn't extend his contract. Whether he goes or not, I've no idea. But midfield wise, I think we need a ball winner. We need somebody that competes. I just don't think we've got somebody that actually is up for a battle in there. Because we've got plenty of technical players, and then as you say up front, but we're going to need at least 1 9, if not 2, depending on who leaves. Miovski, I quite liked him at Aberdeen as well, although anytime I saw him, it was against Rangers, and he was getting quite a bit of room because they were hitting us in the break. I don't know what he's like as a number 9 when you're playing against defensive teams, because I never saw him playing like that against Aberdeen. But he scored goals. He did score goals. I quite like a penalty box. A modern type Chris Boyd, almost, just somebody that's going to be in the right place at the right time in the penalty area. Get the wingers to get the ball and get somebody standing in the right place. So yeah, the spine. We've talked about the spine of the team on how many times, and so we're still talking about centre half, centre midfield, and centre forward in August the 25th. It's actually quite a bit depressing when I think about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, that's for sure. Kenny, a wider question has to be, when we look at this, when we look at the window overall, if we get to the end of the window and we haven't addressed these positions, people are going to be critical. I think that's quite clear. Rangers have got less than a week to do this. There's 4 or 5 positions that are an absolute must. Pressure is going to be put on Patrick Stewart for a start. Patrick Stewart very much pushed Russell Martin. He's made some big mistakes already for me, Patrick Stewart, in that he backed Philippe Clement only to dump him more or less immediately straight away after we got beat the week after. He never backed. He threw the fans under the bus after the Tifo stuff, and he's put Russell Martin forward as being his manager. At some point, we're going to have to shine a light on the people that made those decisions. If push comes to shove with Russell Martin, for me, it's not as easy as just saying, right, it's Russell Martin and goes. The players, will have to take responsibility for that first and foremost, because they're getting away with so much, by the way, with some shoddy, substandard performances, first of all. But that leadership group upstairs that we talk about quite a lot, Patrick Stewart, Kevin Thelwell, the light will be shone right on them immediately. And Kevin Thelwell's just in the door and he'll be judged. But they pushed for that. And I'll remind everybody of something that Kevin Thelwell said when Russell Martin was appointed. And it was, Russell's teams play dominant football. They control the ball, dictate the tempo, and impose themselves physically. They press aggressively and work relentlessly off the ball. These are the characteristics that we believe are required to be successful at home, away, and abroad. It's been 9 games, Kenny. I've not seen a thing to do with that. If this does come to it, people should not miss out the role in Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell in this. Do you agree with that statement?
I categorically do, yes. I think I heard that a while back, that this was more pushed by Patrick Stewart than anyone else, that he wanted Russell Martin, when there was serious candidates that were keen on the job. So the buck stops with your CEO. Ultimately, he is the one that has that responsibility along with your director of football. So the recruitment at this moment in time, it's very difficult to turn around and be too critical of any of the players that he's brought in, because you can't really judge these players, particularly when they look so confused and perplexed almost from the minute they get out onto the pitch. As I say, I'm not sure if there is some that have taken a buy-in to it, and others in that squad that haven't taken a buy-in to it, and that's causing a little bit of tension when you're out on the pitch. So the recruitment with Dan Purdy, that's up for debate. Kevin Thelwell, this is just my personal kind of take on this, that we have decided that we're going to go and buy a lot from the Championship, as we all know. The lower without being cheeky about it, almost Bournemouth reserves and the lower end of the Championship, if you understand what I mean. At the top end of the Championship, I beg your pardon. But have they underestimated what it takes to become a Rangers player? That's my concern on that. When it comes to Russell Martin himself, yeah, the buck stops completely with Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell, because they're the two that ultimately have hired the guy. But trying to encompass it all and trying to take everything in, into consideration, and it's very difficult, as I say, to be overly critical of people so quickly. But this doesn't look like it's working. And for a better way of putting this again, the new owners will be there in Sunday, Stevie, as you know. And if this goes horribly wrong on Sunday, they will know, because people on that main stand will turn on that director's board, as you know, we've seen it many a time. So, yes, is the very, very short answer to that. Yes, the buck does stop with Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell for me, yes.
David, just finally to you, mate, before we go, it is Newcastle-Liverpool at 8, so I don't want people to be late for that one. But Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell, will they have serious questions to answer?
They absolutely should. The Americans, when they took over, were in great pains to point out that they weren't football people, but what they would do is they would put the right football people in the right positions and then hold them accountable. That's what they told us they would do. So they've put in people in these positions. It's not working. They've now got to be held accountable to make it work. It's actually as simple as that. I keep going back to 7 interviews for Russell Martin. I keep talking about it to everybody. I used to do recruitment when I worked. If I was on the 6th and 7th interview for somebody, I'm obviously not sure I want them. I can't be. I'm just amazed that they seem so certain that he was the man. But why did it take so long to appoint him? But it's more than that. I do think there's questions to ask him about this Dan Purdy and the recruitment side as well. The area that he's shopping in is not the best value for money at the best of times, and I'm just not sure that he's not trying to create something that's all about sell-ons and not about winning. I don't know what his remit is, but his remit should be winning, and I'm not convinced that the market we're buying in is actually going to end up getting us to where we need to be. Patrick Stewart absolutely has to carry the can, and any chief executive that's in charge of an organisation that is going in the wrong direction will come under pressure, and he will come under pressure. And he's not the most popular with the fans anyway, and he will become less popular if things go badly on Sunday.
You are not wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, let's end it there. 54 minutes. There's currently across thousands of you watching across all the channel. The support yesterday and the last week or so on the podcast has been incredible. Just we continue to go from strength to strength, and it's all thanks to you, the viewers. Really appreciate all your comments. Most of them, the egghead stuff and baldy stuff is a bit upsetting, but we're 3 grown men. We can handle it. Kenny, thanks very much for your input tonight. Thoroughly appreciate it.
I've seen that egghead thing. It's hurted my wee feelings. No, thanks for that, guys. Enjoyed that, and thanks for watching, guys.
Davie, as ever, mate, a sensible voice in what is becoming increasingly difficult to talk about Rangers these days.
You think? Actually, the best comment was last Monday when the 3 of us were on, when it said we looked like a pawnbroker sign. I thought that was actually quite funny. That was the best comment I've seen yet. Yeah, thanks very much everyone for listening to me rant for an hour. And I can only hope when I'm back on next Monday they were a little bit more positive.
Well, yeah, we'd all love that. Folks, I am back tomorrow. Myself and Scotty Kearney from Club 22 are doing a special bonus pod. We'll be live tomorrow night, I think at 8 o'clock, Scotty said. So we'll be live. Watch out for that one. Also, we will be Kenny and I show on Wednesday, and then we'll do a post-match after Bruges, which will be fun, no doubt. So I think Kenny and I will probably go 5 or 6 o'clock on Wednesday, and then we'll do the post match. And then back Friday night as well. Plenty of content on the channel. Just want to say thank you to everyone that signed up for membership for as little as 99p a month. I think we had 20 or so people sign up during that show, as well as giving out 10 or so free memberships. So really appreciate that. Bluebells, thanks for, I think it was Ali as well. Thanks for your contributions. We thoroughly appreciate all the support. If you haven't, folks, please like and subscribe the pod on YouTube. That really helps us. I think we're well above 9,500 subs now. We're heading towards 10,000, which is incredible. We all really, really appreciate it. Thank you to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Jim and the gang. Jim, I was there with Jim yesterday. I think I got a wee nudge off Jim at one point during the first half when I was getting a wee bit upset at what I was watching, just to calm down a wee bit. So Jim's always the voice of reason for me on match day, which I really appreciate. Cliveview Joinery, Athol Industrial, CSD Air Conditioning, all our sponsors, we really appreciate everything. Thank you all, and our partner, Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you, folks, for joining us. Another great discussion. Is it a great discussion? It feels like sometimes it is. I'd certainly have a great couple of co-hosts and Davie and Kenny to go through it all, and I really appreciate everybody's comments as well. So have a fantastic night. Enjoy the football. If you're going to watch Newcastle Liverpool, it should be a great game. And we'll speak to you again tomorrow night. Me and Scotty are on live, as I said. So hopefully you'll join us for that. Have a good night, folks. Take care. Hopefully I'll get better soon.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Cliveview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.